Imagine finding out that something you do every single week in your own kitchen, something you do specifically because you are trying to be practical, trying to save money, and trying not to waste food, is quietly and systematically damaging your heart without you ever knowing it. Does that sound like an extreme statement? Unfortunately, it is not. My name is Dr. Victor Halston, and as a cardiothoracic surgeon who has spent over 30 years operating on human hearts, I have seen things on the operating table that most people, and even many doctors, never talk about in their annual checkups. I've held hearts in my hands that were prematurely aged, not because of smoking or lack of exercise, but because of a pattern of chronic inflammation that started right in the kitchen. Let me tell you about a patient of mine named Robert. Robert is a 68-year-old retired engineer living in Houston, Texas. He is a non-smoker. He walks 3 miles every single morning around his neighborhood, and he has always been careful with his weight. But when I opened his chest for what was supposed to be a routine bypass surgery, I was absolutely stunned. His arteries didn't look like those of a 68-year-old man. They looked like they belonged to someone in their late 80s. They were inflamed, stiff, and brittle, much like a garden hose that's been left out in the hot Texas sun for 20 years. When Robert woke up after the procedure, he asked me the question I hear far too often. "Doc, I did everything right. I exercised. I didn't smoke. I ate my vegetables. Why did this happen to me?" We sat down and looked at his life, not just his genetics or his stress levels. We found the answer in his kitchen habits. Robert had a habit, common in millions of American homes, of reheating his dinner every single night in a way that was triggering what we medical professionals call silent heart attacks. These are microscopic events of arterial damage and systemic inflammation that never send a signal of pain to the brain until it is almost too late. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly which 5 foods are the most dangerous to reheat after age 60. I will explain the chemical transformation that happens inside these foods the second time heat touches them, and how that process connects directly to arterial stiffness and sudden cardiac events. By the end of this video, you will never look at your microwave or your refrigerator the same way again. Now you might be thinking to yourself, "Dr. Halston, I've been reheating my food like this for 40 years. Why should I start worrying about it now?" This is the most critical part of our conversation today because the truth is, your body after the age of 60 is playing a completely different biological game. When you were in your 30s or 40s, your body had a remarkable, almost invisible ability to neutralize damage. Whether it was a poor meal, a few free radicals, or minor inflammation, your cells handled it quietly and efficiently. You didn't feel it, and you didn't need to think about it. But after 60, that biological safety net begins to thin out significantly. The research published in major medical journals shows us that as we age, our liver processes toxins more slowly, and our immune response becomes less precise. Perhaps most importantly for your heart, your arterial walls become thinner and less elastic over time. Think of it like a new rubber band versus one that has been stretched and used for years. The old one is stiffer and more prone to cracking under pressure. This brings us to the real enemy: chronic inflammation. Unlike the acute inflammation you feel when you cut your finger, chronic inflammation is a slow-burning, silent fire that never fully switches off. It doesn't just attack one spot, it travels through your bloodstream, damaging the delicate lining of your blood vessels and creating a perfect environment where plaque can easily take hold. For someone over 60, the margin for error becomes much smaller. A chemical insult from reheated food that your body could easily ignore at age 40 becomes a direct hit to your cardiovascular system at age 65. The 5 foods we are about to discuss all share one terrifying trait. When they are reheated, they produce specific compounds that your 60-plus body struggles to neutralize, leading to progressive arterial damage. Let's start with food number 1, reheated fried foods. This is the one food that I can almost guarantee is in your refrigerator right now. Think about those golden, crispy French fries left over from a Friday night dinner in Chicago, or that fried chicken you wrapped so carefully in foil because it felt like a waste to throw it away. What do you do the next day for lunch? Most people either toss them in the microwave for a quick minute or, even worse, they put them back in a pan with a little fresh oil to get that crunch back. It is exactly at that moment that you activate a chemical process that your heart and your arteries have almost no defense against. You see, most of the cooking oils we use, specifically vegetable oils like sunflower, corn, and soybean oil, are highly unstable under heat. When you heat these oils for the first time, they begin to break down. But when you heat them a second time, they undergo a deep oxidative breakdown. This process generates a class of toxic compounds called aldehydes. You don't need to remember the complex scientific names, but you do need to understand what they do to your cardiovascular system. I want you to imagine these aldehydes as hundreds of tiny sparks flying off an out-of-control fire inside your arteries. Each spark is small, but it's flying randomly inside your bloodstream, landing on the delicate cells that line your blood vessels, the endothelium. In my 30 years of surgery, I've seen the result of this spark damage. These compounds trigger intense oxidative stress, causing the walls of your arteries to thicken and stiffen. For someone over 60 whose arteries are already losing elasticity, this is like putting a match to a powder keg. It's one of the fastest routes to high blood pressure and, eventually, the plaque buildup that leads to a silent heart attack. I want you to be honest with me right now. How many times this week did you reheat something that was fried? Whether it was fries, chicken, or even a donut? Drop that number in the comments below because I want to see how common this habit is. The fix is simple. If you have leftover fried food, never use the microwave and never add more oil. Use a dry oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or an air fryer. This dry heat brings back the texture without creating a fresh wave of chemical damage. But remember, frying oil is single-use only. Fry it today, throw it away today. The choice is a bottle of oil versus the health of your heart. Food number 2 on our list is one that shocks almost everyone I talk to. Why? Because these are the very foods we are told to eat more of as we age. I'm talking about leafy greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard, and arugula. Picture a Sunday evening in a cozy kitchen in North Carolina. You've cooked a beautiful pan of sautéed spinach with garlic and olive oil to go alongside your dinner. You feel genuinely good about yourself because you're eating your superfoods. You put the leftovers in a container, and for Monday's lunch, you pop them in the microwave for 90 seconds. It looks the same, smells the same, and tastes the same. But inside that container, a chemical reaction has just been triggered that the World Health Organization has linked to serious risks. Here is the science that your body after 60 needs you to understand. Leafy greens are naturally packed with compounds called nitrates, which are harmless and even beneficial in their fresh state. However, once these vegetables are cooked and left to sit, even for a short time, bacteria naturally present in the food begin a process of converting those nitrates into something called nitrites. The real danger explodes when you apply heat for a second time. That second round of heat causes these nitrites to react with amino acids in the food to form a group of aggressive compounds called nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are not just a risk for cellular illness. For my patients over 60, they are a direct assault on the heart. These compounds trigger intense vascular inflammation, specifically damaging the endothelium, the microscopic inner lining of your blood vessels. Think of the endothelium as the air traffic controller for your blood flow. When it is healthy, it tells your arteries when to expand and when to contract. But when it's inflamed by nitrosamines, your arteries lose that ability. Your blood pressure becomes much harder to control, and your risk of a sudden blood clot or a silent heart attack spikes dramatically. I want to ask you, how many times this week did you cook greens and then reheat the leftovers the next day? Write that number in the comments. The solution is simple. If you have leftover cooked spinach or kale, eat it cold. Toss it into a salad or a wrap. Every nutrient is still there, but you've eliminated the second heat and stopped the nitrosamine formation in its tracks. Food number 3 is perhaps the most innocent-looking staple in any American pantry. Whether it's rice from a takeout in Seattle or a large pot of rice you prepped for the week in Florida, rice is a global favorite. But hidden inside that rice, from the exact moment it stops cooking and starts cooling, a biological process begins that most people over 60 have never once been warned about. I need to introduce you to a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. This organism is naturally present in raw rice. While boiling the rice kills the active bacteria, it does not kill the spores. A spore is a hardened biological survival structure that allows the bacteria to survive extreme heat. When your cooked rice sits on the counter to cool, these spores wake up, multiply, and produce toxins. Here is the part that concerns me as a heart surgeon. One of these toxins is heat stable. This means you can microwave that rice until it is steaming hot, and while you might kill the live bacteria, the toxin itself stays fully intact and enters your body. How does a gut toxin affect your heart? This is where the gut-heart axis comes in. Repeated exposure to these low-level toxins causes chronic, microscopic inflammation in your intestinal lining. Your gut and your heart share blood supply and inflammatory signaling pathways. When your gut is in a state of constant warfare, it sends inflammatory signals directly into your bloodstream, where they travel to your heart, promoting arterial damage and plaque buildup. I have seen patients with unexplained cardiovascular inflammation who were otherwise healthy, only to find that their daily habit of eating days-old reheated rice was the hidden driver. The fix: cool your cooked rice within 1 hour by spreading it thin on a tray. Get it into the refrigerator immediately and eat it within 24 hours. Never reheat rice more than once. If it's been in the fridge for 3 days, it is a cardiovascular risk. Food number 4, reheated chicken. Nearly every family in America eats chicken multiple times a week. Imagine you made roasted chicken thighs last night in your kitchen, golden and perfectly cooked. You saved the leftovers for a quick lunch today. You put 2 pieces on a plate, microwave them for 2 minutes, touch the outside, it feels hot, and you eat. But the way that reheating happened is exactly where the danger to your heart lives. You see, a microwave does not heat food the way an oven does. It excites water molecules, but it does so irregularly, creating what food scientists call cold spots. These are areas inside the chicken that receive little to no heat. From the outside, the chicken looks steaming hot, but inside those cold spots, the temperature never reaches the level required to kill bacteria. For someone over 60, 2 bacteria make this specifically terrifying: Salmonella and Campylobacter. While a young person might experience a bad afternoon of stomach upset, for a 65-year-old, the stakes are much higher. Even if you don't get full-blown food poisoning, repeated low-level exposure to these bacterial toxins triggers a systemic biological event. Your immune system mobilizes for war, releasing inflammatory cytokines into your bloodstream. These cytokines don't just stay in your gut, they circulate through your entire cardiovascular system. They attack your arterial walls, promote the formation of plaque, and make your blood more prone to clotting. Over years, this repeated cytokine storm from your lunch leftovers leads to progressive arterial damage. The fix: ditch the microwave for chicken. Use your oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, covered tightly with foil for 15 to 20 minutes. This ensures the heat reaches every part uniformly, leaving no cold spots for bacteria to hide. Or even better, shred that cold chicken directly into a salad. Food. Number 5. Potatoes. This is a staple in almost every American household, from the roasted potatoes in Phoenix to the classic mashed potatoes we all love. But potatoes carry a silent double threat that triggers 2 separate attacks on your heart at the same time. The first attack comes from a compound called acrylamide. Acrylamide is a chemical that forms naturally in starchy foods when they are cooked at high temperatures. The first time you cook a potato, the levels are manageable. But when you take those cold potatoes out of the fridge the next day and toss them back into a pan with oil or high heat to crisp them up, the chemical conditions change. The second round of heat causes acrylamide levels to spike far higher. After age 60, your body's ability to detoxify this compound slows down, and this extra load leads directly to increased oxidative stress in your bloodstream. The second attack is the resistant starch reversion. When you cook a potato and then let it cool completely in the refrigerator, part of the starch converts into resistant starch, which is actually beneficial. It stabilizes your blood sugar. However, the moment you reheat that potato to a high temperature, that beneficial starch converts back into regular, rapidly digested starch. What does this mean for your heart? When you eat that reheated potato, your blood sugar spikes. Your pancreas is forced into an emergency production of insulin to compensate. For my patients over 60, these sharp, repeated blood sugar fluctuations cause immediate oxidative stress in the vessel walls. It accelerates arterial stiffening and contributes directly to cardiovascular disease. The fix: eat your cooked potatoes cold. A cold potato salad with high-quality olive oil and fresh herbs is one of the smartest meals you can eat after 60. By keeping the potato cold, the resistant starch stays intact, your blood sugar stays stable, and you eliminate the extra acrylamide. If you must have them warm, use very low heat just to take the chill off. Never, ever refry an already cooked potato. Now, I've shared a lot of science with you today. You might be looking at your refrigerator right now and feeling a sense of dread. But I want to leave you with something genuinely hopeful. Remember Robert from Houston, the man whose arteries looked like a sun-damaged garden hose? After our conversation, he didn't just shrug his shoulders. He took this information and changed his kitchen habits immediately. He stopped the nightly reheating of fried foods, he started eating his greens cold, and he began prepping smaller, fresher meals. 6 months later, when he came in for his follow-up, the markers of inflammation in his blood had dropped by nearly 40%. His blood pressure was easier to manage, and he told me he felt a lightness he hadn't felt in years. The human body's capacity for recovery, especially after 60, genuinely humbles me. Chronic inflammation is not a life sentence. It is a starting point for change. Every better choice you make starting tonight moves you away from the risk of a silent heart attack and toward a healthier heart. Let's quickly recap the 5 swaps we discussed. Fried foods should be reheated dry or not at all. Leafy greens should be eaten cold. Rice must be cooled fast and eaten within 24 hours. Chicken should be reheated in the oven to avoid cold spots. Potatoes are best enjoyed cold to protect your blood sugar. These small, consistent habits are what protect your arteries when the margin for error gets smaller. I want to hear from you now. Which of these 5 foods surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this information valuable, please hit the like button and share this video with one person you love who is over age 60. It could be the most important conversation they have this week. And don't forget to subscribe for more honest, research-backed conversations about your health. I am Dr. Victor Halston, and I want you to remember, the kitchen is one of the most powerful places in your life for heart health. Take care of your heart, and take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next video. The information presented in this video is for educational purposes only and is not intended as personal medical advice. Always consult with your own physician or healthcare provider before making changes to your diet or medical routine.